Is sincerity enough? Simply being sincere, is that not all that's necessary? We'll answer that question today on the Word for 2021. We're in 2 Samuel chapter 6 today, and David is now king over Israel. Jerusalem is the capital city. David is now in the capital city, and he wants to bring the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem. Now, ever since 1 Samuel chapter 6, about 70 years, the Ark of the Covenant has been at Abinadab's house. But now, David wants to bring it to Jerusalem. So he gathers about 30,000 people together. There is a parade, a procession to bring the Ark of the Covenant to the capital city. The Ark of the Covenant is placed on a brand new cart. There is singing, there is celebration, there is music, and everyone is excited. En route, though, the oxen, they stumble. Uzzah reaches out to steady the ark so that it doesn't fall off of the cart. But when he touches the ark, he dies instantly. Immediately, the parade is stopped. The celebration ends. David is dismayed. David is angry, and David is afraid. Now, bringing up the ark, it was a noble idea. It was a God-honoring idea. The motive was sincere. The celebration of everyone was sincere. But sincerity was not enough. If something is not done God's way, then no amount of sincerity really matters. Another way to put it is this: you could be sincere, but also sincerely wrong. Very sincere people today say things like, "Well, I just don't believe that a loving God would ever judge anyone." Someone else might say, "Well, I believe there are many ways to get to God." Or, "As long as the good things I do outweigh the bad things, then I'll get to heaven." Even though you might be sincere, you are still sincerely wrong. All the people that said those sincere things, they thought that they were right, but actually they were wrong. We have to do things God's way. Going back to our chapter today, David and his men, they were sincere, but they were wrong. God's instructions were clear, and they were unchanging. The ark was only to be moved by one tribe, the Levites. They were to place the ark through poles, and then those poles were to be placed on their shoulders, and the Ark of the Covenant was only supposed to be moved on the shoulders of the Levites. God's word was very clear, and it was never to be changed. 3 months later, after consulting God's instructions, David again moves the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem, this time with worship and celebration. Over and over in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul, the Apostle James and John, and even the writer Luke, they write over and over again, "Do not be misled. Do not be deceived." Find out what God's Word says. We need to ask that question. What does God say? It doesn't matter how we feel about something or what we think. It always comes down to, what does God's Word say? Jesus said there's only one way to the Father, and that is through Him. It doesn't matter what we think about it. It only matters what God says. In Matthew chapter 7, verses 21 to 23, Jesus said something very sobering. Many people thought that they were right, but in all actuality, they were sincerely wrong. This is what we read in Matthew chapter 7. Jesus is saying, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name cast out demons, and perform many miracles?' But then Jesus will say, 'I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers.'" All these people were very sincere, but they were sincerely wrong. As we read in 2 Samuel chapter 6 and throughout the Scriptures, we have to do things God's way. Thank you for joining the Word for 2021.